Good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Preppers are being poisoned. That's what I want to talk about today. Pretty much everybody's being poisoned. I mean, you know as well as I do that they're putting stuff in our air, and they're putting stuff in our water, and they're putting stuff in our soil, and they're putting stuff in our food, and they're putting stuff everywhere, right? It is impossible to get away from the chemicals that they have been shooting into pretty much everything that we live in, eat, whatever, right? And it's having a debilitating effect on us. There are ways around that, and that's not necessary to what I'm going to talk about now. There are a lot of good videos out there telling you how to get rid of some of this stuff that's already in your system, and how to avoid, the bringing it in the future. And I hope that all of you are trying to produce more of your own food. I talked about that quite a bit, I think, on yesterday's when I advised you to get ready for a total collapse. Be responsible for raising your own food to the extent that you can, and try to increase that every year. And be responsible for being able to filter and purify your own water, and be responsible for what's in the building in which you live, and the clothes that you wear, and all those kinds of things, And I could probably make several videos on on just those things, but I want to talk about something a little bit different, and it is particular, should I say. Peculiar only meaning having to do with not everything in the world, but it is particularly the problem of preppers, those who prepare. Not so much with PMPs. And if you're new to me, I make a distinction between preppers and PMPs, which stands for preparedness-minded people or preparedness-minded person, and that is a term that I coined and that I use. And that's the person who has gone beyond so-called prepping and made preparedness a part of their life to the extent to which it is indistinguishable from the rest of their life. It doesn't mean that they are absorbed with it, and I think a lot of people misunderstand that. It doesn't mean that that's all they think about. They think about living good lives, and they have simply incorporated preparedness into those good lives in a way that's seamless, and it doesn't it seem like preparing. It seems like living a proper, responsible life. Preppers are those who I think have not yet reached that level. At least that's the way that I describe them. Whether you're a prepper or a PMP, I have no idea. Well, I know a lot of you are PMPs. Those of you who are over on the Patreon channel, I know a lot more about you all. But wherever you are on that scale, hopefully you're moving up, or should I say, if you're still on the prepper scale, hopefully you're moving up and you're improving every day to reach that standard of a PMP. So the PMPs, as I say, are not so much affected by the poisoning of what I consider to be the poisoning of preppers, and that poisoning is a poisoning of your mind. Now, what do I mean by that? There's a lot of information out there that is designed to make you fearful, to make you react rather than respond, to make you even to the extent of well, I can't do anything about it. I don't know. I had a comment, and the way to control a person is control their mind. Everybody says control the food and you control the people. Well, how do you control a person's mind? You control them. And most of you are familiar with the concept of mind control, right? The government's been doing it forever. Everybody, every society, every civilization has been involved in mind control because the leaders understood the importance of it. It had everything to do from building people up with repetitive chants, war chants and things like that, to feeding people a steady diet of negativity and holding them down. And you know what that does? That has a physiological effect on you too. I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a study that was done in Europe. And then I'm going to get around to what's poisoning you all, the preppers, about who is poisoning your mind and how they're doing it, okay? There was a study done in Europe some years ago, and I'm not a big sports fan. I enjoy watching Chiefs football, right? If they're winning. Now, if they're a bunch of bums, I don't watch. I don't care. I don't care that much about sports. I don't care much about watching other people do things. As simple as that. And for those of you who are sports fans, there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to warn you about something. I'm going to tell you about this study done years and years and years ago in Europe someplace, because it was about soccer, before soccer ever came here to the United States. I'm not a big soccer fan, except my daughter's team. She plays soccer, and I like to watch her. And they took, I forget, did they take the testosterone or did they take sperm counts of men before and after watching a soccer game? Okay, interesting, right? I mean, who but the Europeans would think to do this, I suppose. And then they tested before, and then they tested after the game. And did you know that the sperm count or testosterone, whichever one, of the fans of the losing team was severely depressed? That's right. When I heard that, I said, well, I'm glad that I'm not a big sports fan, because I don't want to leave that in the hands of whether some team loses or not, right? Well, the thing is, the same thing is going on in everybody's life, depending on what information they're consuming. And one of the biggest dangers is the information coming out from the prepper community itself. I'm going to warn you about that. And you see it also in a lot of the comments. I had a comment on yesterday's, and the guy said, well, I'm 72 and I don't want to rebuild, and I'll never outlive my meds and everything like that. And I'm 71. And I'm thinking, man, I mean, at 72, if you don't think you got another 30 years in you, then somebody will come on here, some negative Nancy will come on. Well, yeah, but the life expectancy is only whatever it is. I don't care what the life expectancy is. I tell you what, the life expectancy for people with positive attitudes is usually a lot longer than people with negative attitudes. I'll tell you that. The Bible says we're supposed to live to 120. And did you know that those who study the carnivore diet says, we don't see any reason why people aren't living to 120 except for the self-imposed diseases they give themselves as a result of their lifestyles and the crap they eat and drink and everything like that, right? So that was just one instance. Did you know that pretty much every time I make a video, someone will come on, and I take them off because I don't allow kind of stuff on the video. Somebody will come on and complain that I'm letting you all know how to buy my books. Well, buy your books. Why? That's all you want to do. Well, I'm a writer. That's why I wrote. Do you know what kind of books I wrote? I've written 7 books on preparedness, right? Preparedness and survival. Why? I wrote them to help people, to teach people how to do. Why would I not want to let people know about? Matter of fact, that's the only reason that I started this channel to begin with. I'll tell you how to get the books in a minute. Or maybe I'll tell you now. Okay, I'll tell you now because I might forget. I forgot the other day, and somebody said, you forgot to tell us. Well, the Stonemont series, or my books, I say it's the complete guide to everything you need to know about preparing for, surviving and rebuilding after a total collapse of everything, the reversion, the revival, the renewal, and appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, hostages to fortune, and the very latest one, On Wings Like Eagles. And if you haven't read them, and if you are serious about preparing, I would suggest this be the very next thing you do. And you can get them in a couple of different ways. Amazon has them. You can always order through Amazon. That's through the link is down below. Or the better way is directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. And if you do that, a couple of great things happen. First off, I get to sign them for you, and I write a little message in there for you. And the second thing is that if you buy them through Amazon, you can't order the whole set, but you can through our website, stonemont.us. And when you order the whole set, we give you a nice discount on it because we save on shipping and handling, postage, everything like that. And we pass that on to you. And then also, we put in we stick in the Stonemont notebook for you for no charge, and you'll love that. And so a whole lot of great things. That link is down below, stonemont.us. It is full of lessons. I answer more questions in here than most people can even think to ask, and it's a great story. And if you haven't read it, I invite you to do so. There you go. Okay, but people will come on and say, you just want to sell your books, as if there's something wrong with somebody wanting people to buy what they have created, right? A lot of negativity in the preparedness world, just a lot. I don't think that I've seen as much negativity in any other segment of society as I do in the preparedness world, and that's sad, isn't it? Well, this gets me back to my point of what kind of poison preppers are being fed out there, what they're being poisoned with. And what that is wrong information and negative information from people in the prepper world themselves, whether it's YouTube channels, whether it's articles on websites, whether it's articles in periodicals. It focuses almost entirely, well, no, I won't say that. There are a few positive purveyors out there, but not many. Most of them are extremely negative. And what happens when you consume negativity is you become negative, and you become fearful, and you become paranoid. There's a whole thing. I've got it on my list. Prepper paranoia, and what it does, how it destroys a person, how it destroys their lives, how it destroys their families. There have been families who have destroyed because a person got involved in preparedness to the point that everything was bad. It was always the end of the world. It was always this, always that. And they had devolved into a paranoia that just simply destroyed their family. There have been those. There more than you think. There have been some channels that fell that way. And if you've watched me for any length of time, or if you haven't, if you're brand new, I don't do that. I talk about the positives, how you should prepare in order to not just survive if something happens, but continue living a good life. My series of books about a family who everything falls apart. A CME takes out the world. And as a result of their preparedness, they were not only able to continue living a good life, almost indistinguishable from their previous life, but were also able to help other people. Okay, and I put all the bad stuff in there too. Like I say, I put in slavery and cannibalism and horrible killing and all that kind of stuff, starvation. But I approach it from the positive. Here's the problem. Now, what do you do about it? Okay, and not just how do you react to it, but how do you respond? How do you build something better? How do you build a life worth living? Because in one of them, I say that Jim, I think it's at the end of his speech at the Thanksgiving feast, he says, we must build a world we want our children to live in. And I don't want my children to live in a world of nothing but negativity and fear. How about you? So my purpose for preparing, ever since I started many, many years ago, has been how to ensure that I and those who rely on me continue to live a quality life no matter what happens. But you see, there's too many people out there on the other side. I sadly, I was about to, and I'm going to tell you why this happens, why this poison is happening, and it's a mind poison, information poison. I was about to suggest or recommend another channel, but I have done that in the past and too often regretted it later, and so I don't do that much anymore. But I came upon one that I really liked. They were positive. They were a homesteading place, a family homestead, and everything seemed positive. I liked what they were doing. I liked what they, their temperament, their delivery. I liked everything. It seemed to me like a really good channel. And I'll tell you, it was yesterday, the day before, I was watching one. I hadn't made a decision yet. I was almost about ready to recommend this. And they started talking about economics and the economy today and inflation and recession and depression. And I was so disappointed because they had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. Absolutely no idea. Well, Mr. Smith, why do you think you know? Because I know. Because I've studied this stuff for years. I've owned a number of businesses. I know how the economy works. I have a history. I've been paying attention since the 60s, okay? And too many people out there, and this channel's not this channel was one of the better ones. I there are so many out there that are giving flat out false information. Now, whether they're lying or not, I have no idea. I'm not going to accuse them of lying. I'll simply say they must not know any better. Okay, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But when you're putting out false information and it makes people have a negative mindset, you're responsible for that mindset. And mindset is number one in pretty much anything you do. I don't care whether it's a football game. I don't care what it is. In life, mindset, after the good Lord himself, is where you start. And if you have a poisoned mindset, it'll destroy your life. It really will. Now, some people will come on and say, but you didn't tell us how many rice and beans to stock. No, I didn't. If you need me to figure that out for you, I've got one of the very first videos I ever did. You can find. I think it's just up on our Patreon channel now. I'm not sure. Was about stocking food. Go watch it. I don't want to repeat this stuff all the time. I shouldn't have to. A normal person has a brain; they can figure it out. I tell you how to do it. But I do recommend 7 years of stocked food. And then I also recommend that you increase your own food production as much as you can, as fast as you can. Okay? Because you never know when something's going to happen that you're going to need it. Could be something small. Could be the loss of a job. I know that doesn't seem small to some people. But if you're prepared, it's not that big a deal. You know, my wife and I lost our big-time jobs because we wouldn't get the poke and didn't affect us hardly at all. Okay, because of our preparedness. Or it could be the big one. Could be. We don't know when it's going to happen. Other people are trying to scare everybody, the dickens out of everybody by saying it's the end of the world. And these are the end times. These are the end times. I've been hearing people say this forever and a day, and preachers have been filling their collection plates with this kind of drivel for hundreds of years. Okay? And I'm not saying we're not in the end times. What I'm saying, because I am a Bible believer, and I have actually read all those things that these people try to use to clarify their or convince people of their point. But the point is this: we may be in the end times, but we don't know whether those end times end this afternoon or 10,000 years from now, and neither do they. Okay? I don't know. You don't know. Neither do they. You're supposed to, and since we've kind of got off on the path of religion here, if you're a believer, you're supposed to live every day of your life. This comes from Jesus himself, okay? Didn't come from Steve Smith. You are supposed to live every day of your life without worry, without fear, and doing and trying to do the will of the Father. Simple as that. You are supposed to be here actively working every day, trying to do what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go off and hide. You're not supposed to separate yourself from society. You are supposed to have a positive effect on this society around you. I know it's hard for me sometimes not to get off into my preacherdom there, but that's the way it is. And too many people are singing a different song under the guise of religion, and that's wrong. And they're poisoning the minds of people who come to listen to them, and I tell you, it will destroy the people who hear it and believe it, and it makes me angry. It really does. Don't listen. My dad told me a story one time about when he was a young salesman, and he was doing pretty good, and his district sales manager or whoever called him in because he knew that my dad had a lot. My dad was a young man at the time. He told me the story. He called him in because he knew that my dad had a lot more potential than he was actually doing. And he called him in and said, hey, you could be doing better. Here's how. You got a great future ahead of you. Here's how you might want to do it. My dad said, he told the guy, well, I'd sell more than anybody else here. I do better than anybody else here. And the manager told him, the rest of them are failures. They'll always be where they are. They're never getting any better. Don't compare yourself to failures. That was one of the greatest lessons. And I used to tell my people, I've trained a lot of people through the years on a lot of different things, and I would tell them, it is not difficult to be the best, pretty much. I mean, in some cases it is, some not, but for the most part, it's not going to be that difficult to be better than everybody else around you, because most people around you aren't going to put in the work and the dedication and the stick-to-itiveness and all that, okay, until you get up at the top of whatever the field is. But most normal people are not going to put everything they have into it. So it is not going to be difficult to be better than everybody else. And when you look around at that, you'll say, well, I'm the best. That's not how to measure it. You should be better than what you were yesterday. You should be your best. Doesn't matter. Don't reach that point to say, well, I'm pretty good shape compared to all these other people that are singing the blues, right? No. You need to be the best you can. And a person who is swallowing this drivel about negativity is never going to progress beyond being worried, being frightened, and living a life really that is, it's not good. It's just not good, and it's not hopeful. And I love it when people say, but hope is not a plan. Let me tell you something. Everything good starts with hope. Everything. So, there's a lot of those sayings out there that people love to rattle off and repeat and think that it makes them sound pretty smart. And really, when you start looking at it and really thinking about it, it ain't that smart at all. Okay? So, that's what I wanted to say today. If you're being poisoned by the negative drivel that is being put out by the media or YouTube channels or whatever, you see, I don't consider myself a part of the, why am I saying this? Not attacking anybody individually. I don't consider myself a part of the community or the world of preparedness. I'm me. I have been living a life of and teaching preparedness for 50 years, okay? I don't include myself in I say I'm part of the preparedness world. I'm just me. And I teach it, and I write about it, and I wrote a whole series of books about it. I've studied the things that I need to understand, and because I've always been kind of a teacher or an instructor, I pass this on. It's the only reason that I started this channel was to talk about the lessons in my books, most of which are based on my personal experiences. If they're not based on my immediate personal experiences, it's based on things that I know enough about to talk about. But I'll tell you this, I know enough about this to talk about it, and that is, if all you do, if you follow a line of negativity, your life is going to be negative. And I know some of you. I don't know most of you. But I don't want your life to be negative. It should be positive. God wants you to have a good, positive life so that you can go out and do what you're supposed to do, right? And do your best at it. Okay? I think I've made my point. Half of what you hear out there, totally wrong. Totally wrong. Whether they're lying or just don't know, I have no idea. But wrong is wrong. And if you follow a wrong path, it doesn't matter whether you did it on purpose or by mistake, you're on the wrong path. So get on the right path, get your mind right, be on the path of positivity, do something every day, and stop listening to people who want to take you off on a path of negativity. Stay on the path that you want your life to take and work at it every day. And your life will get better and better and better. And like I say, and follow the direction of the good Lord himself. On the front of the Stonemont notebook, I put a verse down there. It's Proverbs 16:3. It's one of my favorites. It says, "Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established." You know what that means? It means commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will succeed. Now, your plans should be his plans, because you should have asked him first, God, direct me. Okay? Guide me in all that I do, and use me for your purpose. And when you do that, you're going to have a positive life, a fulfilled life. Okay? All right. And if you want to hear all more about it, I'll tell you about the books one more time. It's the Stonemont series. Yes, you can get them on Amazon in paperback, Kindle. I forgot to mention this. Kindle and Audible. Or you can get them, and I love it when you get them directly from me. You can get them directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. Then I sign them for you, and I write a little note in there to you, and we give you a great discount on if you buy the whole set. And I throw in the Stonemont notebook, and you'll use that for more than you think. Okay? All right. Hey, the world's always going to be full of people who try to hold you back and don't want you to get better. You know why? Because they don't want you to have a life better than theirs. And that's sad, but it's the way it is. It's the way people are. Well, not all people. It's the way that negative people are. So, you're going to be affected by the people you surround yourself with. And you're going to be affected by the information that you take in. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself with good, positive people. And make sure that you are taking in good, positive information. And it's going to make all the difference in your life. Okay? All right. You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.